Hello, everyone. So I have the dubious honor of being the last speaker on the last panel, and I'd made the assumption that anything worthwhile saying about energy and energy branding would have already been said by now. So I had quite a tricky preparation in figuring out what to say for 7 minutes about energy and energy branding. So I thought what I would do, instead of talking about the future of energy, I would talk about the future in general, and to give you some ideas that we've come up with at OVO Energy. This is a quick introduction to OVO. Actually, very surprising listening to Ari. We were founded broadly the same time. We launched in 2009, 7 years old a few weeks ago. And a lot of what I heard from Ari describe about bringing power to the people and taking a different, simple, transparent approach is very much what we set out to do. We are a big, small company, I would say. We have grown to about 700,000 customers in the UK, still only just under 3% market share. We employ about 1,000 people. So we're not a small company anymore, but we still very much think like a startup. So I wanted to talk about the future, and one of the big problems about talking the future is so many people get it wrong. It's very dangerous to make predictions. This is quite a famous one. There's a market for 5 computers in the world, chairman of IBM. Everybody knows this one. Other people have made predictions, equally successful. Steve Ballmer made a prediction about the iPhone. That was due to be my next slide. I had to replace that one this morning. This one's for you. People won't want to play these electronic Space Invader games for more than a week, not when we start selling pinball machines for the home. It's amazing what you can convince yourself of when it's in your interests. Gus Bally, Arcade Inc. But people that we really respect in technology, for example, can also get it wrong. Steve Jobs, the subscription model of buying music is bankrupt. I think you can make available the second coming of subscription model and it might not be successful. Steve Jobs. I wonder what the guys at Spotify think about that. So people get it wrong. So I'm not really going to tell you very much about what I think the future is going to hold, but maybe a few ways in which we can all think to help embrace the future, or at least be protected from the change that's coming. Most important thing about the future, it happens much faster than you think. This was Tinder in 2009. So we all know what Tinder looks like in 2014. Anyway. So the world can change really, really quickly. One thing that we've found at OVO is a motto that we live by, this phrase: whatever is in the best interest of the customer that technology makes possible is going to happen. So there are lots of people and lots of industries that really hope that certain technologies don't get adopted, that customers don't change behavior in a certain way, that new manufacturing techniques don't reduce the cost of their or don't make their investments obsolete, that all of our big energy assets are going to remain valuable and protected through regulation and monopoly control. But whatever is in the best interest of the customer that technology makes possible will happen, and it might happen faster than you think. So, rule number 1 for dealing with the future is think like a customer. These are my 2 boys, Seb and Archie. One is 5, one is 2, and they look broadly very similar in terms of demographics. They fit broadly into the same demographic. They're both millennials, I suppose, or whatever we're going to call these guys in 10 years' time when they start buying stuff. But one is very different to the other. So I had a very unfortunate experience a few months ago. They woke up and woke me up very early on a Saturday morning, 5:30, 6 a.m., and I did what any good parent does: you go downstairs and you put the television on. And you try to get a little bit of extra sleep on the sofa. Now, this is Seb. He was born in 2010, and he is a pretty conventional millennial. Not millennial, I would say. Conventional. He's almost like a Gen Xer. He takes what he's given when it comes to children's television. This was a choice, consumer choice, for Seb when he started watching television. So you've got Justin's House, In the Night Garden, 2 excellent programs, very stimulating for a 4 or 5-year-old. Anyway, when I put the television on this particular morning, it turns out that our internet connection wasn't working. Yes, this is what consumer choice looks like in 2016, 2017. This is Netflix. Everybody's familiar with Netflix. My 2-year-old is really familiar with Netflix. Now, when I explained to my 2 children that the internet wasn't working and we would just have to watch terrestrial television. My oldest child, Seb, he was fine with that. He got the remote control, he can use it very well, and he turned on to his favorite channel and sat down and watched TV. Archie, the cute 2-year-old, was inconsolable. He just could not understand why he could not watch Paw Patrol. That's his favorite show. So already at 3 years difference, one of them is an on-demand consumer, and the other one takes what he's given. That's how quickly markets can change. So in thinking like consumers and thinking like customers, you start to think about perhaps the market for energy in the future may not look like it does today. In 2 or 3 years' time, it could look completely different. We know, and we are used to the energy sector working on very long cycles, investment cycles of 20, 25 years. I think here in Iceland, the geothermal plants are running for hundreds or 100 years. But technology can change much faster than that, and if you look at what's happening with the falling cost of solar, the falling cost of storage, the falling cost of distributed generation, it changes consumer behavior, and it happens much faster than we in this industry are used to. So, next rule is customers' expectations change. And customers' expectations change within energy, not because of the change within energy, but because of the change in the rest of the world, in other sectors. So, for example, when you think about expectations for postal delivery, everyone knows Postman Pat, I'm sure. This was a big innovation in the UK. In 2007, I think, they started leaving cards to let you know that they had missed you, that you weren't home and you could go to collect your parcel. This is customers' expectation in 2017. Next year, drone deliveries don't need to be home, they'll just drop it in the backyard. Okay. Second rule, think like an outsider. This is a great quote from Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon. Your margin is my opportunity. Anytime you think that you're not acting in your customer's best interest, you can be sure somebody today is trying to figure out how to serve your customers' needs better. Your margin is my opportunity. And the bigger the margin, the bigger the opportunity for outsiders. The more regulatory protection that you have, the more monopoly power that you have, the more incumbency power you have, the more difficult it is going to be to change the behavior of your organization to deal with outsiders. But outsiders are working furiously to figure out how to deliver more value for your customers because they need to. They don't have a business in your sector already. They don't have a huge customer base. They need to win it, and to do that, they need to be better than you. So think like an outsider. Think like a villager. Village people here, everyone's favorite. I'm going to wrap up on this one quickly. When I think about what has made OVO successful, I can relate it back to my background. My parents, they bought a shop in a smallish town in Ireland, and they, over 15 years, got to know a lot of their customers pretty well. The same customers would come in year after year. They sold school uniforms, so the children would come in year after year. Their parents would bring them back, and my parents would get to know them. And the customers would get to know my parents. And they would walk down the street and they would bump into their customers. They would bump into people that worked in the shop. And it bred a very different kind of behavior than the one I see in big companies. And I was trying to figure out what it is about small companies that makes them different from big companies. And I think it is this, that in very big companies, especially multinationals, you have the senior management of the company that never get to meet their customers. They barely get to meet their staff. And so you don't have to worry about what's going to happen if you execute a very unfavorable customer policy, you don't invest in customer service, you don't run a great employer brand, because you never have to worry about how uncomfortable it's going to be when you bump into them. When you think as though you live in a village rather than in a city, which is anonymous, you're always thinking about what's going to happen when you run into that person in some other context. So as businesses, I think we should be thinking about how we serve society and how businesses play a role in the community, not in some abstract way, but really connected. This is something that is very important to us, is the increase in transparency that comes with technology. I've started being much more polite to taxi drivers now that I know they're going to rate me. So even when they go the wrong way, when they get lost, when they show up late, when the car stinks, I'm never rude to taxi drivers because I want my Uber rating to be as high as possible. eBay invented this model with user feedback. This is OVO now. Trustpilot is doing a great job helping consumers understand the reality of customer satisfaction. We also focus very much on Net Promoter Score. I'm pleased to say it's just a little bit higher than PowerShop. I won't go any further than that. But we have great user reviews, and we take it really seriously when we get bad ones. And this is something that consumers trust more and more than advertising. To deliver great customer service, you have to be a great employer. So now we're worried about not just the people that work at OVO, but the people that come for interviews and how their experiences is. Because people can leave, unsuccessful candidates can leave reviews on Glassdoor, and it will hurt us. It'll hurt us. There's a war for talent, we all know, so we have to have the best employer brand we can. I'm going to leave you with this thought, that for the last 2 days we've been talking about completely the wrong thing. This is an energy branding conference. And when I think about branding, I think it's like this. This is an ad from one of our competitors in the UK. I've hidden, I think, all the references to who it is. But it's a very strong message. We're standing up for customers. This is a comedian in the UK, quite a well-known celebrity. Standing up for customers. That's branding. This is brand. 0.3 out of 10 customer satisfaction. 0.3 out of 10. So that's what I think we should be talking about. What we are like as companies in reality, not what we want customers to think. I think branding is what we want people to think we're like, but brand is what we're really like internally. And I know I'm running a little bit over time, so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much.